at long last, I'm going to say at long last because it feels like we've been waiting for this for a while, we got a trailer for Thor Love and Thunder. And what this seems to be about, it seems to be centered around Thor's retirement and his soul searching, for lack of a better word, being interrupted by Gore the God Butcher, who seeks to wipe out the existence of the gods. And this is a pretty short trailer, it's a teaser trailer, and it already seems to have a lot going on. There's the idea of Thor, quote, finding himself, right? Yep. And I think it's kind of interesting how he says that in the trailer, because throughout the first 3 movies, Thor hasn't really been so defined as a character. There's how he was in Thor 1, then Thor 2, then Thor 3. And I'm not saying that as, the character is developing. I mean, I feel like there's like a legit identity crisis in Thor throughout the films from a writing perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get the feeling that Thor was the one, I think, property that I think Marvel had a lot of trouble with and struggle with. And I think you can really tell between the tone differences between Thor 1 and, unfortunately, I remember Thor the Dark World. And then you have Thor, even when you look at Thor Ragnarok, that also drastically changes the character. Not really the character, but I guess breathes new life into Thor and really gave Chris Hemsworth what he wanted to do with the character too. So you can kind of see just how between the 3 movies they've look and feel, and even Thor sounds a bit different. But not necessarily on the point of he's developing, but more like they're toying with the character, seeing how he should be and how Chris Hemsworth would feel playing a certain version. And you can even see it throughout Infinity War and Endgame. My favorite interpretation, to be honest, is still Infinity War version of Thor. That's just, to me, that's the God of Thunder. But even with Thor 4, unfortunately, Love and Thunder, like you said, he's going through it again, and I'm a bit mixed on this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those things where, the first, it almost feels like with the radical shift in tone between the second and third movie, like that I almost wanted to erase, what happens in the first and second movie. But I look at this one coming up, and like I said, it seems to have a lot going on. One of those things that's going on is, of course, Taika Waititi. Again, the biggest, he's responsible for the shift in tonality from Thor 2 to Thor 3. He didn't do Thor's 1 and 2, he did Thor 3. It was the first one he did. And again, I think that's the best Thor movie that we've seen so far. But I understand the criticisms that when it comes to what Thor Ragnarok deals with, literally the end of Asgard, there was very much a lack of emotion. Like, the movie was more fun than the first 2, and I think that was a necessary change because, let's be real, the first, you ask a lot of people, and the first 2 Thor movies, aren't remembered as fondly, especially the second one. So I feel like Taika Waititi coming in was a necessary change. I just feel like maybe he could have done things a little bit differently with Thor 3, but that doesn't say that he can't necessarily do that with Thor 4, because he brought the fun with Thor 3, and he brought both the fun, the humor, and the emotion as well, all 3 of those, with Jojo Rabbit. So if he didn't do Jojo Rabbit and do it as well as he did, I wouldn't be as confident in him for Thor Love and Thunder.
Touche. Yeah, Jojo Rabbit, to me, love that movie. I think Taika Waititi did an excellent job. Like you said, the weight, the emotion, the funness, it was all there for me. I think for me, I'm just at the point, especially with Thor. In Thor 4, the trailer looked cool. His new armor looked cool, It's just odd seeing that he's trying to become himself, I guess. And this is, I guess, a bit of the comic book nerd in me, where he wants to become himself, but yet his name is Thor Odinson, and you have a new character, or a returning character, taking upon the Thor mantle. It's odd for me because it's like you're Thor, that's your identity, a little weird. And you're trying to find yourself, and now you have someone else taking it in a sense. But again, it's a mixed bag for me, this movie, heavily more than Thor Ragnarok. So,
and just to be sure, when you talk about that, established character taking up the mantle of Thor, you do mean Natalie
Yes.
Portman, right? Natalie Portman's Jane Foster. Okay, and again, like that's something I'm worried that I'm a little confused about too. Like that is Jane Foster taking up the mantle of Thor,
Yes.
right? Or it's supposed to be. Okay, I'm still not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah.
I can't help but wonder why and really how this is gonna work.
Yeah, it's odd, but at the same, I have a feeling. Again, I don't want to keep theorizing on the channel, but I just don't think it's necessary if this is the route of what they're going with for Thor trying to find himself in the grand scheme of things. And it's weird because the one thing I did like from the trailer was really that you get to see Thor travel to various different locations, and there are moments where it's like it's ripped from the comic panel essentially, and it's gorgeous, but like I feel odd. I felt odd watching the trailer, and I didn't really feel anything per se for the character of Thor, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm also looking forward to see how he bounces off with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I know they were in Infinity War together, but I want to see them explore that dynamic a bit more. I would have liked to have seen more of Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher, and Russell Crowe as Zeus. We saw a little snippet of that with his back turned in the trailer, but I would like to see exactly what they do with those two. I have an odd feeling that should they release another trailer, which, considering this is only a teaser, I could see that happening. I have an odd feeling that we would see more of them in that particular trailer.
Yeah, again, going to different mythologies, I think is pretty fun, pretty cool. Again, I think Thor 4 is going to capture what I think a lot of people liked about Thor Ragnarok, and that's the fun adventure side of things. So, we just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to wait and see. We have to wait until July 8th of this year. That's when it goes into theaters. And for everybody, did you get a chance to watch the trailer for the next Thor movie? What were your thoughts on that? Leave your thoughts wherever it is that you can. We really want to know exactly what's on all of your minds.